My farm needs the earth, the air, and the water. I get my energy going on LMNT Electrolyte Drink Mix. Clean, good-tasting energy that feeds me like I feed my plants and animals. And after a long day on the tractor, when it's time to shoot the podcast, I drink LMNT so that I can stay energized and stay salty. Let's get it on. When we talk about pioneers to the sport, many names come up, but when it comes to a pioneer of coaching MMA and going through all of the different levels that MMA has created and been through, Javier Mendez, our next guest, is absolutely one of the very best and has been there from the beginning. Javier, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, John and Josh.
Little hesitation
I know
there.
that you hold on. I know that you had to put up with and go through a lot to have Josh in your gym for that many years, and I just want to tell you that is close to sainthood. So you're very close. Great job.
He was blessed.
Yeah, we were blessed with him. There's a reason why we called him the Punk, right? Now
Yes,
it's just
sir.
a name, but back then it was the name he earned.
Yeah. I always wondered, I was like, man, with my jawline, with everything else, really? This is what you're going to name me? This is what I'm going to get stuck with? Come on. So, what's up, Hob? How have things been?
Good. Things are good.
Yeah.
Just just here at the training house with the guys and just enjoying the quiet brick city life in New Jersey, brick New Jersey. It's so quiet, so fun.
Okay, let's just jump right into it. Obviously, Islam's got a huge fight against Dustin. When you take a look at how Dustin is now in comparison when you were coaching Khabib for the Dustin fight and Khabib versus Dustin, is there any differences on how you approach this between the two and what you see differences from Dustin?
Well, Dustin is a much more dangerous fighter now, and especially since this is, his Rocky Balboa type of song dance, if you want to call it. So the guy has nothing to lose. So it's one of those situations where we have to take him very serious because if we don't, it could be bad on us. But we do have the blueprint because we trained with him with Khabib, and Islam was the main guy helping Khabib with that particular bout. So we do have an edge there in that regard because we know what he's all about. But he's definitely improved. He's definitely hungry. Has he gotten better? I said improved, but has he really gotten better? I don't know. I don't know if he's gotten better. It's just it's going to be his determination, right? His determination to win. That's going to be the biggest difference, I think, not his skill set.
Yeah, one thing when you're thinking about someone like Dustin, though, he is that guy that he's going to continue to come after you, continue to move forward, try to do damage to you. You had that fight with Khabib where he had Khabib in trouble at one point in that fight. That guillotine choke, everyone says don't jump the ghillie, but he jumped it. It was tight for a moment on Khabib. You saw Khabib actually go to his side. When you take a look at a fighter saying that he really is in this Rocky Balboa type moment, I agree with you. He has nothing to lose here. There is no pressure on him. There is everything in the corner of Islam to have to defend that title against a guy who is a legend in the sport. But Dustin's in that position where he can just let it flow, and what happens. And he is a dangerous guy when he does that.
Correct. Yeah, correct. He is a definitely dangerous guy when he does that, and he definitely is in that situation. But my job is to stay focused throughout the whole 5 rounds. That we're planning on going. I'm not looking at it like, oh, it's a 1 round, 2 round thing. I'm looking like it's a 5 round war for me because I know how dangerous he is and I know how much he wants it. This is his last hurrah. He may never get another chance.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't do it now, and he has nothing to lose, like you said. He has no nerves, no nothing. It's got all excitement going on his side. He's the Rocky story. No one expects him to do it, and he's going to go out there and try to prove people wrong. And my job is to make sure that he is wrong.
I honestly, I've talked with people, and I said this is as close a situation to Matt Serra versus George St. Pierre that you're going to see, in the fact that back then no one believed that Matt Serra was going to win, and he had no pressure on him. And he went out and shocked the world.
Yeah, yeah. He shocked the world, and it's almost to some degree not quite the same, yeah, because Strickland actually did more than just shock the world. He helped pointed out Adesanya every round,
Oh.
whereas with Matt, he just got the one shot in. So it's kind of one of those things. You hit it on the nail. It is going to be one of those, situations, not the Sean Strickland situation where he actually outpointed them. We're not going to get outpointed, guys. We're not. But something could happen if we don't pay attention. It could happen, and my job is to make sure that I don't lose focus as a coach. I can't allow myself to lose focus, and I can't allow him to lose focus, which I'm pretty sure he won't.
Does it put any more pressure on you as a coach knowing that Islam has never faced anybody that has the credential of Dustin Poirier? I mean, I can go through the list right here. Look, I'm looking Max Holloway, Korean Zombie, Cub Swanson, Eric Koch, Brandao. I mean, you've got Conor McGregor, them 3 times. You got Diego, Anthony Medeiros. I mean, I can go Bobby Green, Michael Johnson, Jim Miller, Eddie Alvarez. I mean, Anthony Pettis. The list goes on. Justin Gaethje, Eddie Alvarez again, Max Holloway. I mean, Khabib, Dan Hooker, Connor. It's Charles Oliveira. Islam's never fought anybody that has this level of competition. Is there any more pressure on you? How does that put anything in your mind? Like, man, he's seen it all. He's done it all. I've never asked you this question, but I'm kind of interested to hear what you had to say.
I'm in that situation now where when I first started getting involved in these big fights, right? The nights before I couldn't sleep, I was so wound up. What if this happens? What if that happens? And it wrecked my life, actually, to be honest with you. That along with gambling, right? Being in Vegas and staying up at night gambling and being nervous about the fight, it wrecked my life. And then as time went on, I learned how to handle it. And to be honest with you guys, I have almost zero nerves going into these fights now. Almost zero nerves. It's such a nice thing to have, to have a nice restful sleep. That if I don't get a nice restful sleep, it's not because of the fight. I think it might be something else, but it had nothing to do with the fights.
Well, when we were,
it also helps that you have someone as talented as Islam Makhachev.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, it probably settles your nerves. You got Khabib and Islam, both of those guys. They're a little bit different, right? Like it makes. See, I was stressing you the hell out, right? Because you didn't know what I was gonna do. You're like, yeah, let's just see how this plays out, right?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, Josh, you're a little bit like Khabib. Khabib always did shit to me that I was like, what the hell is he doing? So yeah, Islam doesn't do any of that. But again, I learned how to deal with the stress and the nerves. I don't really, seriously, guys, I really have hardly any nerves. And I love it like this. I love that.
John, let me tell you a story. Before I fought Yves Edwards, he comes strolling in like in the back, and he's like, hey. You could tell he hadn't slept. And I said, what were you doing? Where were you? He's like, he's I couldn't sleep. So he went down to the tables. He was gambling till like 4 a.m. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm not fighting. But you could tell that he for a while, he had a hard time. You could tell he had a hard time sleeping sometimes. Anytime in camps too, it would wear on him in camps. As we were getting a week or two closer, he was like, like sleep apnea or just can't sleep well or just can't get, like just couldn't get a good night rest, man. He'd come into the gym just drained. Yeah, but he would still come in and work me over and make me feel, like I needed to do a lot more every single day.
Hav, I say this all the time. Look, you were a world champion kickboxer. You fought, the very best there was in the kickboxing world. And then you became the trainer of, just superstars in MMA. I always say it's much more difficult to be the person that is the trainer than the fighter. Because as the fighter, you have control. As the trainer, you don't have a ton of control once the fighter steps into that cage. You guys have planned on, you have your fight plan. You know what you want him to do. And once they start to stray from it, you can try to bring them back. But sometimes it just doesn't happen. It's the most frustrating thing ever to be the trainer. And it's one of the super stressful.
Correct. It basically is the hardest thing to do, and I've been able to be successful with it. And I'll use Josh as an example. When we first started out, we had this one jiu-jitsu coach called David Camarillo, and Josh would go with David. And kid you not, Dave would submit Josh maybe 2 or 3 times a round sometimes. you know. And one day Josh comes up to me and he goes, you know how I'm so tired. Dave always submits me. He always does this and that. I can't seem to get him. I said to Josh, I go, Josh, do you remember how many times he used to submit you per round? He goes, yeah. I go, how many times does he submit you now per sparring session? He goes, well, like once. I go, there you go. He went from 2 to 3 a round. Now he's getting you one time. And I told him, eventually you will catch him.
Yep.
And sure enough, no longer than maybe a month or so goes by, and guess who catches who? Josh catches him, submits him. And I say to him right then and there, I go, boom, there you go. You see? So that's how I've been able to work the guys. It's the mental part. And it's a very difficult thing to do, not easy to do. Not every fighter's the same.
Oh.
You have to look at them all different, and you have to attack them at who they are and what they're all about and what they could be. And that's what I've been fortunate to be able to do. One more example real quick with Josh Koscheck. Josh Koscheck was real stubborn, super stubborn guy, great athletic guy, great talent. He was going to fight, and in one of the fighters, Chris Lytle, right? And Chris Lytle's a really good boxer, and Josh was going to go box with him. And I said, no, don't do that. He goes, no, I'm going to box with him. I said, don't do it, Josh. It's a bad move. This guy's a pretty good boxer. And he still wasn't listening to me. So I'm going, how am I going to get to this guy? So basically what I did is I took on BoxRec, Chris Lytle's boxing record is on there. I printed it out, Josh Koscheck's outside the smelly gym, as we used to call it.
Yeah.
And I dropped it on his lap. And he looked at it, and he looked at me, and he goes, okay, coach, I got you. Yeah. So then he goes out and fights exactly the way I want him to fight. And therefore, he smashed Chris because he didn't let Chris get into his game. And at the very end, though, he did stand with Chris because he thought he could, and he got nailed. And then he realized, man, I'm glad I didn't start off like that. You know, so that's how I get to my guys. Give them examples, but they have to be real. They have to be real. It can't be this bullshit that you make up, and because the fighter sees right through all that. You can't do that with the fighter. You got to be real with them.
There's a lot I can say. I can speak from experience. I mean, Hav and I would have breakfast almost every morning before training. We'd probably meet around 9:30 or 10 in the morning, you know, and then we'd sit there for about an hour and a half at one of our friends' restaurants that was in the same parking lot, and we'd have breakfast, talk about what we needed to work on, you know, that day. And then when I talk on the podcast, Hav, I'm constantly talking about training with a purpose, whatever it is that day, right? Today was, hey, need you to close the distance, set up your takedowns. Okay. Yeah. Today was the focus was takedowns. Training with the purpose is really important. And I noticed that the boys like Islam and Khabib and all, they don't ever get away from that purpose. They know what they're doing. You keep them on focus with that. Khabib staying with the wrestling, never trying to make himself, you know, world-class kickboxer, but always improving his striking. Islam understanding what his game is. Striking, you know, head kicks, left southpaw, body kick. I mean, everything, and then mixing into the clinch and the foot sweeps. How do you continue to keep that going?
Well, basically by having good coaches around me. You know, Islam's got some great coaching at home. He's got Saif Safula, and he's got Magomed, the main coach over there, that's teaching him the striking. And Saif is the Olympic Taekwondo coach. So he's got great coaching there. So when I'm not with him, he's got great coaching. And then never mind about the greatest coach that I think is going to be of all time, Khabib. He's got Khabib on his corner. So for me, my job, to be honest with you guys, is really easy, because now I have people that take over where I used to do more of the work. I do less of the work now. You know, I come here and Khabib takes over all procedures of training, even for teaching the striking. And Josh, he teaches it fantastic. He knows what he's talking about. Whereas before, he wouldn't know the first thing about striking. Now he teaches striking, and he knows. He's like the best ever at taking people down from being an MMA fighter takedowns, not wrestling per se, but MMA takedowns. He's the best ever. And people don't understand what I'm saying until they actually look at it closely and they examine it and they go, oh my God, he's so right. It's not from a wrestling type of scenario. It's from a MMA type.
So you brought up Magomed Gaethje, right? Is that the one you're talking about, correct?
No, Magomed is the main coach over there at Abdulmanap's gym in Dagestan.
Yeah. Okay. So one of Magomed Gaethje said that even if you put wrestling aside, in my opinion, Islam can outbox him in pure boxing and in Muay Thai. There are no aspects in which Islam can't beat Dustin. I mean, do you feel the same sentiments? Do you feel that?
Correct. Yes, I do.
In all aspects, give me some areas that you feel like maybe Islam might look, I can't be, everyone's going to call me an Islam bias because that's what I've been called for 2-3 years now.
You're always a homer.
I'm a homer
okay.
I'm a homer for the AKA guys.
Yeah, of course.
But tell me what you think, if there was one area that Islam is, or not Islam, but Dustin might be able to not exploit, but that you feel like he maybe would have the only chance.
Yeah, boxing.
Yeah.
Hands down, boxing.
What about that low calf kick?
A low calf kick is a dangerous from him, also very, very dangerous because he likes to throw it. But Islam is actually fairly adept at low calf kicks. So it's not going to be as big a deal unless he catches a good one, which could happen. Mm-hmm. It could happen, but Islam knows how to defend the low calf kick.
Javi, I got that question. Look, you take a look at AKA and it's American Kickboxing Academy. You came up as the kickboxer, but it's been known for wrestling and superior wrestling, for a long time. And you got just a plethora of incredible talent that has been there. Josh being one, Mike Swick, Cain Velasquez, DC, Luke Rockhold. I mean, just it goes on and on. BJ Penn, Frank Shamrock. Who was it that, and it could be someone besides who I named, but who was it that started to shape you as the coach that you are now? Because you've changed.
Yeah, I changed. The guy that's on the podcast with you, he's the one. He started it.
I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah, he started it. I'll tell you how he started it, okay? I was not much of a coach to begin with for the team. I was a coach for an individual.
I was like, he's lying. He was a great coach.
No, I was individually.
Yeah.
I was with one person, okay? Frank Shamrock, BJ Penn, you hit it on the nail. But it wasn't until Josh came into the picture that he started bragging on me about how I need to train guys. I need to give the guys this, like Trevor Prangley. You need to help Trevor. He goes, I know I'm taking away from me, but I see what you're doing with me, and I want the guys need that. They need that. I want you to give, please. And I would say, no. I would tell him, I'd fight with him. I said, no, I'm not doing it, Josh. And he goes, no, I know I'm being stupid because it hurts me, but no, it's best for the team. It's best for the team. You need to do this. You need to do this. So it wasn't until his wife did me a great favor that I said, shit, okay, they're doing me a great favor. I got to do him a great favor. So I decided to take on board what he wanted me to do. So I started training Trevor and started paying attention to the whole team. And then, honestly speaking, our whole team atmosphere and everything changed once I did that. From before that, we were, if I'm not mistaken, Josh, we were 50-60% winning percentage.
Yeah, something like that.
And then when I took over, we went up to the high 90s. We were winning just about every fight because it came down not to the techniques, John. It came down to the matching. Some crazy Bobby just matches up with this and that person. I go, what are you doing? No, we don't want to fight that guy. And this and that. So it was a lot of trial and errors, but it was Josh that got me involved like this. And I've mentioned it long time ago. Josh probably forgot, but he's the reason why I became the coach full-time for AKA. And he's the big reason why I'm here now. It started there, and I don't want to let it go once I got it. Once I got hooked, right, you're done. If it wouldn't have been for that, I don't know what I would have done, to be honest with you. I might have been still at the gym more than with the fighters, but Josh is the one that got me to give the fighters more of what I had than just individual guys.
You got, like, a lot of my push is that Cain Velasquez had just came in the gym, John Fitch was there, Koscheck was there, Swick was there, and I was like to myself, look, outside of BJ Penn, I'd never seen this much talent in the gym. I'd seen the local kickboxers that we had in the gym, this and that. They were good fighters, but these guys, they moved from other areas of the world, of the country to come and train here. And I was like, they want it. They want to. And so I just knew. All the thing too is that at the time I was the only fighter in the UFC at the time, and so I just knew that if we could get one or two more guys in, it would really kind of catapult the gym itself. Because, Hob was at the gym. Fuck, man. And he tried to talk me out of owning my own gym a couple times, but it really,
and you didn't listen.
I didn't listen. But the bottom line is that I saw he was there in the morning from 10 in the morning or 11 in the morning until, 3 in the afternoon. Then he'd go home for an hour or do whatever, go have lunch, and then come back, and he'd be there from 5:30 to, until 10 o'clock at night. Sometimes we'd go have dinner because I was a gym rat, man. I couldn't afford to do anything else except, train. So, and he just spent as much time with me as possible. I knew if I could get some of the other guys to jump on board and he would work with them, that they'd increase a lot better. And the gym grew because of it. And I'm happy about it, man. I mean, it got to the point where I was actually asking if the guys could come out and because he would run me at the track. And I'd say, hey, can they come? He's like, yeah, as long as they just show up when you're here. If you're not here, I'm not going to be here. And it was like, so I went every time just so they could all go, you know? And so anyways, we had a great time, man. But I always tell the story, Hob, about I used to brag about when I was training with Frank. I used to brag about, this guy BJ Penn, he's not that good. He's not that good. And you guys brought him into the nighttime class. Man, he tapped me about 5 times in 5 minutes. It was so funny. But Hob and Bob were in the corner. Tell them what you guys were doing. They were just laughing at me.
We were laughing. Because, I mean, Josh just didn't think that this guy was that good. No, he's tapping. Yes. No, he's doing that good. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't believe that.
No.
I don't believe that. Then he goes in, he's whooping everybody's ass just like that.
He was. It was.
But it's crazy.
Yeah, we had some good, man. We had some great times. A lot of history in that gym. You know, Brian Johnson started off with the UFC, and then Frank kind of came along, and then, you know, BJ Penn, myself, Jay Velasquez, guys that fought Kelly Delonte, all fought in the UFC. You know, and that like you said, that winning percentage was low at the time. You know, and then the guys started gaining steam. Tough came, and then you had Bobby Southworth. You had, you know, John Fitch was supposed to be on the Ultimate Fighter that first season. They called him and told him not to get on the plane because they took him off the show, but he was supposed to be there. So it's supposed to be John Fitch, Mike Swick, Josh Koscheck, and Bobby Southworth. All 4 of them would have been on the show at the same time. So we would have had 4 guys from AK at the time. But it was, you know, it was a blessing. Everyone kind of worked out. Like, your life has changed a lot in the last, I'd say, 3 years. You know, I mean, Khabib doing most of his stuff overseas now, you traveling over to Dagestan, you in Dubai, you in Abu Dhabi, wherever it is that the guys need training, you're there. How much of a difference is that for you?
For me, it's a big change, you know, big difference, you know, and the reason why all this changed is because of COVID. You know, when COVID came around, it almost destroyed us. You know, we were down to our last, you know, everything, you know, and the only way I was able to survive is to come on board with Team Khabib, you know, because they were the only ones that were fighting. And the gym, we lost like that one year, the COVID year, like almost 370,000 we lost, you know, out of our pocket. That's really hard to swallow, you know. So I kind of told myself, you know, I need to do something about this. So I decided that I wanted to try to get involved in business since I was in Dubai, like Josh mentioned. And Khabib is so well known that I got well known because of Khabib, and I got to meet a lot of influential people in Dubai. So little by little, I started getting the taste for a little bit of business, you know. And from that point, I decided that, you know, I'm still going to coach, but I want to, you know, when I'm not coaching, I want to be involved in business. So I don't make sure this doesn't happen to me again with me and my family, and we could be left out with only one thing to do. I want to have more than one avenue of a resource of income.
Yeah.
So that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Whether you're an Olympic athlete, professional hockey player, MMA world champion, or just an active kid, LMNT helps anyone stay hydrated. Each stick pack delivers a meaningful dose of electrolytes free of sugar, artificial colors, or other dodgy ingredients. Get your free sample pack with any LMNT drink mix purchase through link in bio. Also try the new LMNT Sparkling, a bold 16-ounce can of sparkling electrolyte water. Roll, train, ride, or play, but stay hydrated and stay salty.
You know, one of the things that happens in gyms and with coaches and everything is, like Josh, he gets old and eventually he can't fight anymore. And, you know, it's time for him to go on his way. And that's happened with, just a plethora of the guys that you've had they've gone through their careers. And you had Khabib, who then ended his career fairly short, you know, in a short period of time. He could have fought for many years to go. But your new grouping, mostly from Dagestan, being guys like Umar and Usman and obviously Islam, it seems to me that your base is smaller, but absolutely deadly as far as their abilities and what they can do. I've seen a couple of the young talent coming out of AKA. Is the new rise coming where you're going to get that same rollover of great fighters coming out of AKA?
We're going to, but it's going to take a little bit longer. Right now, the main talent that's coming is mostly going to be from Dagestan. Like, we have Chanko, who's another guy that's coming up the ranks. He's a two-time Muay Thai world champion. Amaru, who's a Warriors champion. He's like, 7-0 now. This kid's unbelievable. And with Team AKA, we have a few. Mo Alarak, who's the one that I believe is going to be the rising star for the AKA brand over there. And there are a few other ones that are coming up the ranks, but the majority of them are going to take a little bit more time, but it's, I'm no longer there either. So things have not gone as well as I would like them to have, because it's a new structure, new guys involved, and I had to expect that. Every time there's a change, there's either going to be a little bit of a bump, either up or down. And unfortunately, we're a little bit down, but we'll get back up.
How much has it made a difference having Cain Velasquez involved?
That's what.
He's a huge help because he knows everything. He knows more about MMA than anybody I've ever trained. I spent the most time with him than anybody, but he doesn't have the coaching experience just yet. Whereas Khabib was fighting and coaching all those years. Cain was never coaching. He was just fighting. So now Cain is becoming a coach. And so it's going to take a few more years for him to get the handle of it. And once he does, watch out. He's an incredible coach, incredible human being, and he loves giving back to the guys.
What's it been like having him back in the gym, though, for you? Not just the coaching aspect, but I know how close you are with him. You're the godparents to his daughter, and it's, what has it been like having him back in the gym for you?
For me, it's love, because I love him, and seeing him doing something he loves to do, and it's great. And I always tell my son, Jeremy, who's actually coaching now too, I'm very proud of him. And because he's picked it up really well. And I said, hey, if there's anybody you're going to listen to, you listen to Cain, you listen to Ron Kessler. Those are the two guys you want to learn from. You want to gravitate to them and listen to their every word, and try it out, because they're going to lead you on the right path. So for me, it's very much in my heart to see that happening. It's a love. We're in it for the love. If we're not in it for the love, and we think we're in it for the money, we're in the wrong sport. We're in the wrong sport.
You're right about that. Right.
Oh, yes. Hey, bringing it up just, because I see Ron Kessler all the time, especially with the younger fighters out of AKA going to the smaller shows, the regional shows, things like that. Sometimes you see him, it was at a Bellator and every so often at a UFC, but what's it like, a guy that fought for AKA and then became a coach there? He has done a fantastic job for you.
He's done the best job out of anybody I've ever had. He is the most reasonable guy. He doesn't make any dumb decisions. His decisions are all really, really good. He calls me and he tells me if he has a decision on something that's kind of tough, he'll call me and he'll ask me, what should we do here? What should we do there? He's never, so far since I've been gone, he's made every decision correctly, which is, I'm very impressed with him. Very, very impressed with him. And I look at us having a really, really long future with Ron Kessler.
So speaking of old friendships and relationships and stuff like that with Cain and everything like that, but look, you have a long time relationship who I actually met through you with Scott Coker. He just had his first fight there in San Jose with Gilbert Melendez, where they partnered up. And I believe you had some AKA guys on there, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I mean,
we had 3 or 4.
But what is that? Does it feel good to kind of know that something's being rejuvenated back for the Bay Area fighters again?
Yeah, because when Bellator got sold to PFL, we don't know what's going to happen with Bellator now that they're running 2 organizations. What's their motive? What are they going to do with it? Did they buy them just for the fighters, or what was their strategy behind what they did? Because at the present time, I'm kind of confused. You have all these great fighters, but yet what are you doing with them? I don't know. I'm confused a little bit. So to have Coker come in and do what he's doing, and I know he's going to do something big, It's a great thing for me to have that, in our backyard. Very big.
Yeah, because when you look at the history of the Bay Area in terms of MMA and kickboxing as well, is you got, Brian Johnson, Frank Shamrock. I mean, like all these, a lot of top Uriah Faber's out of the Bay Area, the Stockton boys. You got Nick and Nate. You got Gilbert Melendez, Jake Shields. I mean, the Gracies. Half Gracie was out of there. I mean, there's been a lot of MMA that came out of jiu-jitsu, MMA, kickboxing that came out of the Bay Area. So having an actual promotion that's starting to build back up and develop young talent is very important for gyms like yourself, correct?
Correct. And having obviously one of my best friends, involved in that, which unfortunately I'm saying my best friend, so maybe he'll give me a little bone here and there. If he doesn't,
we all know
he doesn't give me any. I don't get any damn benefits from him. Other than the fact that it's local.
Hob, you know how rough he can be.
With tickets, with anything, man.
Crazy. Shoot. That guy, trying to pull anything from that guy is like pulling teeth, man.
But he's a good guy. He's always been great to
I
work
love
with.
him. He's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
He's one of my best friends. But still, as a promoter, he's one of the best, if not the best. But as a person who's going to do me favors,
Okay, I'm going to jump back onto Islam, and there was father's plan for Khabib, but then what is the plan for Islam? I mean, has that been talked about? I know he's like, I want to go to 170. We had him on the other day. If you guys haven't checked out that interview, check it out. The link's down below. But look, he's like, I'm going to defend this title, one or two more times, and my goal is to try to get to 170 and beat Leon if Leon's still champion. I mean, are we even potentially going to see 185 out of him? Because he walks around pretty big. We know this.
I don't know about 185, but I definitely see 170, 100% see that from him. But, let's face it, Josh, you can want whatever you want. If UFC don't offer you it, you ain't getting it.
That's true.
So we can throw it out there, and I throw it out there too. I do podcasts where I throw out there on someone's podcast. I say, hey, if you guys are listening, like Umar, I've been pushing that Umar fight to fight with somebody top guy so we can fight a title fight after.
Yeah.
And look, it's happened.
Yeah, you
it's
got
happened.
that one now.
You got that one, yeah. So I've been doing
you
that.
Did it, Hob.
Little. I just kind of throw it out there. Well, I like to think I did, but I know I didn't.
But what if he goes, obviously we're all assuming he's going to win this fight against Dustin, and he goes on, I think, to beat Arman Sarukian as well in a similar fashion as the first fight. But then as soon as that happens, we look on to Leon. He's kind of already commented. I know that Bilal Muhammad is part of the family and he's close with you guys. He had kind of hesitated on the fact that they would even potentially fight. How do you see the Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad fight going, though?
That's a tough fight, man. That's a real tough fight. I didn't see the first fight, but I heard it wasn't going Bilal's way. I heard it was not doing too well till he got eye poked. But who knows? Bilal's a dog. He'll stick in there and he'll keep grinding. So we don't know what's going to happen because it didn't finish, right? But I would think, obviously, based on their first one and what I heard is that Leon would be favored. I would think it's just a matter of very simple logistics in the sense that you got to close the distance. You got to use your weapons, which is his grappling, against Leon's striking, because there's no way Bilal is going to get better as a striker between now and that fight. Not going to happen. It's unrealistic to think that.
He's been very vocal about how, I just read a quote the other day from him saying, like, look, he'd pay a certain amount of money just to train, the one day or the 1 week with Khabib and the team, because that team is just so well organized, so well put together. How is he running? How is Khabib running these teams to the point where these fighters now, all these top level fighters, are talking that way?
Well, they're talking that way because he's so disciplined and is so strict. Everything's so strict, and like I said, he's a great coach, until you're in there with him and you see what he does, it's pretty amazing what he does there, and like I said, he'll run the striking, coaching it, and he coaches it perfectly, So this is a guy that's meant to be a coach also. Yeah, he's very successful in business and he wants to focus on his family, which that's what he's doing. But when he has the free time, he's there with the guys, and that's what he's doing, But as a coach, he's unbelievable. And the word gets out. When you're around people like that, everybody wants to come, right? I mean, so that's why we have a lot of people wanting to go to Dagestan to train with him over there, rightfully so.
Islam said that he's like DC was when DC wasn't in fight camp and he'd come in and run wrestling practice. That he was very hard when DC wasn't wrestling. So like, Habib, when he's not training, he runs it really hard. He's like, brother, we do all these extra rounds. What do you mean we got to do 10 more rounds of grappling after sparring? So he cracks the
Yeah.
whip from what I understand.
Yeah, he cracks the whip. He cracks the whip. So, and but they at the end of the day, they dread it, but they do it, and then they feel good after it, and they see their improvement. And the big thing that he does is he gets all of them. He grapples with all of them, and the ones that are important. That's what he did with Bilal when we were in Abu Dhabi. Sorry, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. Bilal came train with us. Habib said, "Coach, I'm going to give Bilal my attention. What do you think?" I think he needs my attention. I said, yeah, I think it's a great idea. So from that point, Habib attached himself to Bilal, worked his corner, and you could see how Habib made a huge difference in him in that one particular fight, And from that point, they bonded. And Bilal, if I'm not mistaken, is planning on coming to Dagestan. We discussed him coming to Dagestan to get training there with Habib and then while he's preparing for his fight with Leon. I hope it happens. I'm not sure if it's going to, but it was discussed.
He's a good guy, man. he's nice, respectful.
Really good person.
Good person.
And the thing about him that I really like, he doesn't change. I mean, he's fighting for his people. He says it all the time. He doesn't change his colors. He voices his opinion and his care, and you got to respect and love him for that, The guy hasn't changed one bit. He's every bit. If you want a hero, someone that's going to put himself out on the line, that's a guy as an athlete that you can respect and go, okay, that's my hero. Because he is all those things. He's not afraid to say what he needs to say to benefit his people, and I respect that immensely about him.
One of the things that I've seen with Habib when he's coaching, he does, he gets in there and he goes with his students and everything, but he always seems to stop the training. It could be at the end, sets everyone down and he talks to them, and he starts just giving them little bits and pieces of what's important in life and how you need to go through life. I mean, I don't know if the young guys really get how important that information that he's putting out there is, but it's absolutely gold. When I've watched it, it's like, man, those guys have no idea how important what he is saying is to what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, Josh knows this because we've been doing these sit downs for, I don't know, 20 something years, Josh. I've been doing that. So Habib comes on board and he sees that and he sees the value of it. And I've been doing it for a long time. So he just grabbed on board and did that. All my guys are doing that. They come on board after the practice. It's not before practice. It's after, when it's everybody's warmed down and they can think clearer now because they don't have to worry about someone punching them or taking their arm with them or something. But it's much better to do it at the end because the training's done, and then you can relax and think about the training and think about the mistakes you made, think about the improvements you're going to make, and the coach will bring them up to you. And we've been doing that for a long time, and Habib's come on board with that. And as a matter of fact, for the first time ever on this camp here, believe it or not, I've done only one speech, and I can't believe I've done that. Normally, I've never not did a speech. Always talk after it. First time ever, I didn't do a speech. That's crazy.
Yeah, Hob started that back in like 2000. I want to say 2004, 2003, sometime around there.
Something like that.
Yeah, right around the time that Swick and Koss and all those guys came in.
Smart.
Yeah, it was because it was just kind of a meeting of the minds. Like, hey, like Koscheck used to always have comments afterwards about, hey, Josh, you got to work on your wrestling in this area, this area. Fitch would say, hey, work with a purpose. Swick would always have something to say. Bobby Southworth always had some great knowledge to drop, So it was just something like we saw each other training. We worked with each other. We understood what each other needed. Hey, focus more on this because you're doing this. And I think that's what made us all better, and then Javier being the outside voice along with Bob Cook and, whoever else was there at the time, coach-wise. They always had a little bit of input at the end and made sure that we wrapped it up and buttoned it up. And I think that's definitely one of the bigger reasons why we were successful was just the meeting of the minds at the end every time and talking and communicating with each other. So it definitely worked out. Look, I'm going to go into a little bit of the guys with Umar. How do you see him matching up with Corey Sandhagen?
I see that as a great match for Umar. It's for me, it didn't matter if it was Corey. I just wanted a top 5 guy. So once we beat him, he's going to fight for the title because I look at him as the bantamweight heir, and I'm not wrong. I know I'm not wrong in my heart. This kid is just too talented, And once he gets in there, people are going to realize how good this kid is, and they're going to go, "Damn, you picked that one again." But I picked him a long time ago, though. When I first met him, I think it's 2015 when he first came to me, and I knew this kid was special, and just like his brother Usman, and I told Scott Coker, when Scott called me, he goes, "Hey," he goes, "What is this about Habib's cousin, brother?" I go, "He's a good fighter." I go, "His brother?" I go, I don't know, Scott. I don't think his brother fights. He goes, no. Mike Hogan told me his brother's fighting, and we should look into him. I said, I think you're talking about Usman. I go, but whatever you do, you want to get that kid. Whatever you do, get that kid. That kid is most talented I've ever trained, and still to this day, out of everybody I've ever trained, Usman's the most talented, MMA fighter I've ever trained. Ever.
I look at Usman and I say to
Quite a
myself,
statement.
"Go ahead, John."
No, just quite a statement.
Yeah, I look at him. Talent-wise, he's got all the attributes. But I think if you're a promoter, right, you're looking at him going, you're tall for the weight class at 155. He's got to be 6 foot, 5'11", 6 foot. He's good looking.
Yeah.
His English is getting better. His style of fighting can be fun and entertaining. He likes to stand and keeps the distance. He's just he makes it look easy, almost Floyd Mayweather-esque. I know if I'm reaching a little bit for that, but he is still young. But he just doesn't take any damage, and he makes it look easy a lot of times. Look what he did to Benson Henderson. How many times have you seen someone do that to Benson Henderson? Exactly.
Never.
See, so it's just kind of one of those things where, man, as a promoter, Scott really kind of locked that one down, and I was like, that was a great snag. Someone that's good looking, very, very likable, and very easy to promote. Definitely one of the top guys.
Can fight his ass
100%.
off. Yeah. When you take a look at someone like Usman, though, let me ask you this, because 24 years of age. Right?
Well, he's 26 now.
He's 26 now, okay.
No.
And he is in that position where he's never lost. He's basically dominated almost every fight that he's been in, as far as no one's ever really had him in trouble that I can remember even seeing. And he's in that position where he gets to train with Khabib. He's the sparring partner for Islam all the time. Where do you see that level being at when you look at Usman? Do you think that he could be one of the all-time greats?
100%. I think he could be one of the all-time greats. He still needs to grow into it, though.
Sure.
Right now, I look at him, in my opinion, and I'm biased, of course, but in my opinion, he's the second best lightweight in the world right now. I wouldn't be afraid of him fighting any lightweight in the world right now and beating him. I have zero problems with that. That's how good I think he is. And I'm biased, of course. I mean, it's my kind of...
Well, you had talked about the most dangerous person for Islam.
I thought it was going to say me, but go ahead.
Was Justin Gaethje.
Yes.
And I can understand why, based upon the way Justin fights and, how he approaches the fight and everything. Taking a look at someone like Usman, going up against someone like Justin, how do you see that?
Well, with Justin and Usman, it'd be a very, very fun fight.
Yeah, it would.
because we're going to see a lot of stand-up from both sides. And the bad thing for Gaethje is that he's just, a guy that's got D1 wrestling but never uses it. And he doesn't know how to use it. So he's like a, one-trick pony kind of, in a way, because he's just going to go stand. He's not going to look to take the guys down. And I scratch my head. Why the hell doesn't this guy use his gift? Why even consider yourself a wrestler if you don't even use it, And I thought for sure when he fought, Max, that, I thought Max could win, but it would be later in the rounds after absorbing an enormous amount of punishment from being ground and pound and stand up this and that, because he's not known to be a submission specialist. So that's what I thought. Then when all of a sudden I watched the fight and I was like, what the hell am I watching? I go, might as well give me the belt. Might as well give me the belt. Why are you holding on to that belt? I couldn't believe that he wanted to stand with Max the whole time. Mm-hmm. So Justin Gaethje is a super, super dangerous guy, but he doesn't fight to his abilities, and he fights to his desires, not his abilities. And that needs to change, fight to your abilities, not your desires. His desires to stand and bang, knock you out in the highlight reel. That's why they call him the highlight reel, right? But I think he should change his desires for fight to your abilities, and he has yet to do that.
Give me something about Islam that's changed since the time I was training with them to now. the one thing that I've specifically have said across the board is, and John can attest to this, is that I've always thought that Islam was the better fighter between him and Khabib. And I'm not trying to compare them. They're just different. Okay. But the one thing that I felt Islam needed to work on the most when he was younger was the mentality, just understanding that how good he was, just being mentally strong to push through anything. You could tell every time he walked into the cage in the beginning and when he was younger was he still was kind of wondering if he was as good as everyone said he was. Khabib never had that doubt. Now, after seeing him and also talking to him and texting him and going back, this guy has no doubt. Islam is a different person mentally now. I mean, how have you seen that change as well?
Yes, I've seen that change. I've seen him blossom into who he is now. And, the one thing about him, out of every single person that I've ever had, he listens to cornering better than anybody. The next one that's close to him is Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez is really good. You're not listening,
I didn't get no mention, honorable mention in there.
No.
No, which is telling you were a rockhead.
He was good. He was good, but he was stubborn too.
I was. The second fight with Gilbert Melendez was the most stubborn. He's like he couldn't get to me.
Oh, dude,
that was hilarious. He sent Bob in the 4th or 5th round. He goes, just try to see if you could talk to him.
Just smack him. Just smack him. Like he hasn't taken enough shots.
I know.
One of the things that AKA has expanded, and there is the AKA Thailand that Mike Swick is in charge of, and it just looks like an incredible spot. He keeps on improving, and things are getting bigger and better. How does that make you feel as the guy that started this thing to now see it all the way over in Thailand and just huge?
Yeah, I was just there about 3.5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he was building the pool with the Muhammad Ali on the bottom, the
Yep.
mural in the bottom of the pool, and what he was going to do with it. Man, it's unbelievable, Mike. And I'm very proud of him. It's the nicest freaking gym I've ever been in my whole entire life. It is a super gym. It's the nicest gym. I haven't seen another gym that I can say is as nice as AK Thailand. I really haven't. I've seen some really nice gyms, but nothing like AK Thailand. That's number one. And the things he's planning on doing with this gym, and all the things he's got future plans with it, it's going to be amazing. It's an amazing number one gym now, and it's definitely the cleanest.
Yeah,
definitely the cleanest. And they got a great boss. Mike's a great boss. People there love him, and I love what he's doing with the gym. It gives me a big honor. It's the flagship, right? If you're gonna go see what it could be, you go to Mike Swick's gym.
You guys got a couple gyms. You got yours, obviously, and the home base, aka headquarters. You got Mike Swick's. You got Trevor Prangley's. You got Bobby Southworth, who's in San Antonio, and Trevor's up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. You've got a bunch of gyms. Trevor's gym has grown really big.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to say
there's
got.
Also,
go ahead.
No, there's also AK Goa, India.
Okay.
We have a license deal in AK Goa, India. They're wanting to do, I think, 5 or 10 gyms there in the future.
Wow. Yeah, because Trevor's gym has grown quite a bit. I think he's got probably close to around, I want to estimate, but he's got a huge kids program. I've seen the kids program, probably over 150 kids. Very good kids program, great adult program. Everything there is running really well. Yeah. Okay,
nice.
Okay, I'm gonna. This will be my last question for you. Wrap it up for me. Let me know how he gets it done. How does Islam win this fight?
Well, everybody talks this, that. I can't. I have to stay focused in the fight. I always like going 5 rounds. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot by thinking it's going to be over a submission or it's going to be over with a punch. And when that doesn't happen, I lose focus. And I don't want to lose focus at one time because Dustin is too dangerous. I need to respect Dustin and any fighter my guys fight at that level. So I don't want to say we're going to finish it in this round and that round. No, I like to think 5-round domination because that's my attitude. We have to win every second, every minute, every round. And that's why I like 5 rounds. I want to keep engaged in the game. I don't want to take myself off the game.
All right, my last question is this. With everybody, all these people that we've talked about, who was the fighter that you enjoyed being that coach in the corner with the most?
Cain Velasquez.
All right, I love it. Love it.
Kane was just Kane. I'm gonna hear Kane is amazing, man. Like, there's nothing. I don't think anyone can say anything bad about him. Anyone's been around him knows that he is just the salt of the earth kind of person. Just the biggest teddy bear ever, man. And everyone. I think for a long time. Remember in the beginning when he exploded on the scene, Hoff? He wasn't even in the UFC. He wasn't even. I don't think he had his first Strikeforce fight. He was
Strikeforce and Bodog.
Yeah, and people would come from all around. Media would come from all around the U.S. to watch him spar, and he'd spank Mike Kyle, he'd spank Paul Bonatello, he'd spank LeVar Johnson, all in one session. They'd all come in, do a round or two, and then they'd get out. He'd do the other two guys. He'd get out. He'd get another 2 rounds. He'd do 6-7 rounds in a row with those guys and make it look easy. I mean, just out. Yeah. And it wasn't just wrestling. In the beginning, it was a lot of wrestling. No. But at the end, in the middle there, right before after he went to Strikeforce and did Bodog, before he went to the UFC, he was doing 2 rounds with each one of them and still going and he was using his striking for majority of it. He'd trip him, he'd throw him down, let him back up. He just outworked everybody. He was amazing.
He made everybody look bad on his striking now. He got so good at striking now.
That's why everyone was so surprised when he knocked out Nogueira the way he did. And I was like, I wasn't surprised at all. They thought he was going to wrestle him and how he's going to beat him because he has jiu-jitsu. And I was like, you guys don't even know. He doesn't need to use his wrestling. He can strike. Yeah. So he had a way better left hook than I did. So
he had the worst left hook, Josh.
I do. I'm the only Mexican that didn't have a good one.
Left hook. He had the worst left hook.
It's still bad, Jav. I hate to break it to you. It's still bad. Never fixed it.
Javier, we just want to tell you thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on all the success that you've had because it's just been fantastic. You deserve every bit of it. You've been a mainstay and a pioneer in the sport. Thank you for everything that you have been a part of, and thank you for coming on the show, and best of luck next Saturday night, UFC 302, your man Islam Makhachev taking on Dustin Poirier. Best of luck, brother.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.